morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's CPG Masterclass Series webinar with myself, Michael John, Andrew Duck, Simon Edwards and Christiane Stenger. First of all, thank you everybody for attending. We hope you enjoyed today's webinar. It's a slightly different take to the previous ones and you'll soon find out why. Before we do get started though, just make sure your microphones are muted. You can keep your screens on if you want to, so we can see your faces. But yeah, just make sure your microphones are muted. That'd be awesome. We are recording this webinar as always, and we'll upload them straight onto the Masterclass Series hub page afterwards. So if you do miss anything, you're more than welcome to go onto the Masterclass hub page and review the recording. And what you'll find with today's is that in one section of it, we're covering some local rules related to COVID-19. We won't obviously word for word describe those rules, but we've got all the information on the slides. So if you want to take away some of that information, you can go to the recording and get it from there. So it's probably more important that we are recording today. As I said, it's going to follow a slightly different take today. We've created a sort of panel style discussion webinar with myself and the four other guys that are on this call at the minute. And so it's going to be quite a bit more of a discussion about certain things that are going off in the industry related to COVID-19, such as rules, such as the case study that's going to focus a little bit on Germany, et cetera, et cetera. And so we want to engage you with that conversation as well. So as we go along, whilst we will allocate time for a Q&A afterwards, if anybody has any questions, do post them in the chat, put some ideas out there, and I'm sure we'll get through some of them as we go along, and that'll be really good. So just bear that in mind. But without further ado, we'll get started. So titled Part 2, Life After COVID-19 on the Golf Course. So welcome today to today's CPG Masterclass Series webinar. Just a quick bit about the speakers. I've mentioned their names. We've got Michael John, who's the CPG Chief Referee. MJ, we like to call him, so you might refer to him as MJ. Works a referee on the Ladies European Tour and is from his native Czech Republic. Christiane Stenger and Andrew Duck, both PGA of Germany members, also CPG referees, and they work at, I think I'm going to pronounce it right, at Golf Club House Bay.
That is correct.
In Dusseldorf in northwest Germany, if my geography is correct. And then Simon Edwards, CPG referee again, PGA member, and a MENA Tour referee, brings decades of experience in the golf industry as well. And then myself, who's the CPG comms and events manager for the Confederation of Professional Golf and the PGA member. Okay, so just before we get into some of the key specifics, we'll just give a quick brief industry picture as to where we are at the minute in relation to COVID-19. I know a lot of us will probably be following the news at the minute and seeing different stories from different countries. In relation to golf, first of all, from our point of view, we held a series webinar last week with Johan Hanf and Jonathan Manny, focusing on Sweden in relation, and that's probably a case study that everybody's quite familiar with in relation to COVID-19, because ultimately they didn't close down industry, they didn't close down golf throughout this entire process, so they were sort of one in their own. So if you missed that, do go back to the recording and get a bit more information on that. In relation to CPG ourselves, again, I mentioned this in part 1, but we issued a joint statement and some guidelines related to our Stay Safe, Stay Learning policy. Again, you can access that through the CPG website, which just covers the collective viewpoint of our PGA associations and members in relation to COVID-19. Again, I'll go through that in a second. And then finally, there's the R&A guidelines, which were issued at the end of last week, focusing predominantly on the UK market, but nonetheless, we felt quite important and provide good guidance. So our Stay Safe, Stay Learning policy was ultimately devised about 3-4 weeks ago now, and it was a collective statement from the 32 CPG member country PGAs related to COVID-19. The premise of it was ultimately that because we represent so many different countries and the situation in each country is different to the next, the premise of it was that we accept the situation is fluid and it's ongoing and ever changing, but ultimately we provided 5 key areas in the guidelines on how to re-engage golf in certain ways. Now you can see those at the bottom. So engaging with local and national government, engaging with and unifying golf stakeholders and governing bodies in the country, engaging with their member professionals, promoting the safe playing of golf, and we'll probably go into quite a bit more detail in this webinar as well on how to do that, and also promoting the physical and mental well-being benefits of golf. And ultimately, as a collective of those 5 points, it was aimed at PGAs to help engage their members and ultimately engage golf clubs and facilities and venues across our network to introduce golf or continue to introduce golf depending on what stage somebody was at in the social distancing guidelines. And then finally, the R&A guidelines, which were issued last week. Again, it's just important to reiterate, these are focused on the UK market. So whilst not necessarily applicable to everybody, they do provide some good points and some good takeaways that perhaps when, say, for example, if you're in Spain and golf comes and you start opening your facilities, you can bear in mind and maybe consider when doing so. So some key takeaways again there at the bottom, maybe just have a quick read. Simon, you sent me this last week. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it.
I think the initial take from it is that we are going to be, as an industry, there's going to be a new normal for how golf is played and how golf is run across the UK and Europe and across the world. And as a global game, there's reports coming out of all sorts of bodies at the moment that are, you know, the governing bodies are saying we'll start with non-competitive golf, which is a great idea to get everybody back into the swing of things. Most of the local rules will apply to non-competitive, and when we do get back to it, to competitive golf. But at the moment, I think the non-competitive stuff and the R&A guidelines are very, very good. It's been really interesting to read through them to how we can get people safely back on the golf course.
And ultimately, you yourself, you run your own teaching academy. Sort of, it's relevant to you, and it's something you're definitely taking into consideration as and when the UK opens up, for example.
I think from a coach's point of view and from a club's point of view, what we're really interested in is 2 things. We're trying to keep our clients and players safe, and we're trying to keep ourselves safe. We've all got families, and we've all. It's vitally important for everybody to be safe. The social distancing thing is great. I mean, I'm really looking forward to getting back to coaching, and I'm looking forward to getting back to doing the rules work. But it has to be done in a safe way. It has to be done in a sensible and sort of measured way more than anything else. You know, the UK, we have an announcement at 7:00 on Sunday night, and hopefully everybody won't be in their cars at 9:00 on Monday morning thinking the world has gone back to normal. And the world will never be normal again after this. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm sure we can get a bit more insight into, for example, Czech Republic, who've in a minute with MJ as well. And then we will also with Germany, with Christiane and Andy. Just to sort of quickly give you a brief overview, you probably read the takeaways already, but the key points of these guidelines we're focusing on considering the customer journey from start to finish and what you need to do at each stage of that customer journey. So when somebody arrives, course setup, local rules, when they play, and then when they leave. And then ultimately, and you'll find again, this is, whilst again, this is focused on the UK, it's still applicable to the German market, for example, because some of the stuff in those takeaways is what Ducky and Christiane will be mentioning later on. So we'll hand straight over to MJ and Simon then, who are going to cover some sort of some key local rules. Now, MJ, correct me if I'm wrong, this has been a little bit of, you've been doing some work with Italian club managers and your own Czech federation in relation to this?
That's exactly the main thing, guys, everybody. Hello, hope you are safe, hope you're doing well. I can see Mike Neville, for example, straight, and Simon Edwards, I'm Michael. Yeah, it's probably the most boring period of your professional life and golfing life. This is some set of local rules, which was firstly prepared and established in cooperation with Czech Golf Federation. The guy who is mostly behind it is Chief of Rules Committee of Czech Golf Federation, Dalibor Procházka. And this is thing which should be enough to cover some special procedures we need to follow on a golf course in accordance with things mentioned in the RNA guideline, how to safely play golf in the next few weeks, days, months. Hopefully everything will be normal shortly. So that's it for start.
Okay. So basically, let me go back. They obviously cover, there's 5 rules we're covering. Key ones, the flag stick, the hole, stakes, rakes, and the scorecard. Now, I mean, there's obviously a lot more to do that, but these were key ones that MJ has flagged up, and obviously following the RNA guidelines. So, as I say, we are recording this. So, for example, on this slide now, we'll just give a brief overview, but ultimately you will be able to get this information from the Masterclass Series hub page afterwards as well. MJ.
Yeah, quick one. This is the longest, probably the longest part of local rules. Czech Golf Federation proposed to all golf course owners in Czech Republic and everybody who wants to run any kind of golf tournament. Just a quick thing, guys, we are now a little bit ahead. We should be able from, if I'm not wrong, the date is 11th of May. We should be able to running things with max of 100 entrants, which is about golf tournaments, for example. And then from 25th of May, we should get all hotels open and everything. So it will obviously be a very good moment for golf or golfing nation, because they can travel, they can play, and we can actually organize any tournaments in Czech Republic very shortly. So the first thing is flag stick. What to say on start again? The main issue now is to prevent people touching in massive form things like flag sticks, rakes, steering wheel in a buggy, I don't know, stakes, for example, on a golf course as well. So the first local rule which is proposed is about flag sticks. Obviously, the first solution is you can completely remove all flag sticks from the golf course. It's very unusual. It's a little bit tricky to play the golf course without any flag stick, but anyway, you can still do it. It's not quite good for competitive golf or tournaments, but for normal fee game, for visitors, for your club members, it is obviously possible to remove all flag sticks to prevent people touching the flag sticks. In this case, you can obviously mark the position of the hole for your fellow competitor who is just about to hit a putt. You can mark the position of the hole, for example, with club head or whatever. So there is first very special local rule. If somebody marking the position of the hole for any player making a stroke, for example, with a club or any other object, the person marking the position of the hole is deemed to be attending flag stick. There is no flag stick, but this is obviously acceptable local rule, and the flag stick actually might be, for example, a golf club. 2 notes. The first one, there is no breach for, according to rule 10.2b, pointing the out of line of play for ball on the putting green. There is definitely no penalty if somebody will keep the club, for example, with his grip or whatever, in the cup. So there is no breaching of rule 10.2b for pointing out line of play. And the second note, if the player's ball in motion hits the person who is attending the flag stick, obviously the wording is flag stick. But as we said, there will be no flag stick on the golf course, and this solution or anything the person is holding, there is no penalty under rule 13.2.b. So again, if we will have no flag sticks on the golf course, we're gonna use just our own club. So under rule 13.2b, there is no penalty if the ball will hit any person or the club we pointing where the cup on the green is actually. Simon, do you want to add something to this part of the local?
Yeah, I think the idea of playing with no flag sticking is a bit of a radical solution. I like the idea of the flag sticks remaining out on the golf courses, but players don't touch the flagstick. They put with the flagstick in. We start to use hole liners, which we'll come to later on when we come to the local rule about the ball being holed. I think what we've got to do is credit a lot of our members with some common sense that they, if we leave the flagsticks in, they're not to touch them. The hole liners, as we'll come to, is good. You know, if one of the local rules that we've done is if the flagstick is displaced, the player can put it back in the hole. They are. It's recommended they use the hand that they've got their glove on, because what we're really trying to do is to stop the contagion spreading. They're calling it in the UK the R rate, you know, the rate of reproduction of the virus. So the limited, contact we can have with the flagstick, the better, because it's going to keep the rate of infection down, which is good. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of this is common sense, but the problem is common sense is not so common, which is it is what it is. So we've really got to put it down, and certainly when we get back to competitive golf, and I've talked to the panel before, it'll be really interesting to see how these guys, with this exhibition match at Seminole a week on Sunday with Ricky and DJ and Matt Wolf and Rory, to see how the rules of golf are applied there, because I think that'll be a big test event for the way the tour will, and certainly the PGA Tour when it gets going again in June. I think this event, relative to the flagstick and everything else that we're going to be talking about, I think that is going to be a big test for the rules officials, for the players, and hopefully it'll be a good guide to the general public on how they're going to play the game for the foreseeable future until we can figure something else out.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to move on, but Dick de Groot has made an interesting point, which is what we're on now, which is in relation to how we can stop when we hold the ball into the hole. How can we stop it from obviously going directly down into the hole so that we can pick it up without touching anything else? So we move on to the holes. Just have to give a quick brief summary of this one, guys, but just quickly, what are the key points with this one?
Okay, I will start quickly, and I'm pretty much sure someone will maybe add something. You can use as a whole. This description actually says that you can use an insertion preventing the ball from dropping to the bottom of the hole. You will see a few pictures in the next slide, which is solution like we have plastic pipes, some people using a special foam insert, whatever. Rule 13.2 says the ball resting against the flagstick in the hole is actually hold when any part of the ball is under the surface of the putting green. So if you will stick any insert into the cup, and that will prevent the ball from falling down the bottom, when any part of the ball is under the surface level, it's still hold, okay? So this local rule says if a player's ball comes to rest against the flagstick left in the hole or any artificial insert inside of the hole below the green surface, because we added, in this case, something inside of the cup, then the ball is hole. I think maybe we can, if Simon, if you can say something or add something, then please do it now, and then we can move.
I think the whole line of things is a great idea. Again, it comes down, same as the flagstick, to stop people having contact with stuff they don't need to have contact with. I quite like the idea for non-competitive golf. If the ball is within 12 inches of the hole, the next stroke is deemed to be hold. If the ball hits, you can have a raised hole liner. If the ball hits the hole liner, as Jordan Spieth did the other week in a charity event, he was claiming a hole in one, and then it bounced off into the lake. But I just think, again, we've got to have a way of deeming the ball to be hold, whether it's an insert in the hole, as I'm seeing some of the chat come up. Guys are using inserts, they're using 2-inch deep holes. It's all great stuff, guys, to keep our players safe, which is really what it's all about. And these slides are showing all sorts of brilliant ways of stopping the ball dropping to the base of the cup. So we limit the contact with flagstick, hole cups, just to try and keep people as safe as we can.
Yeah, ultimately. Wayne makes a brief point. They've used inversing the cup or raising the cup, I guess, which is not on this specific example, but covered in the rule that we've just seen. So you can go back to that. But ultimately, that's another good way of doing it, where if it strikes the outside of the cup, it's hold.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Okay, so then stakes.
What's the biggest, I will make a quick note. What's the biggest thing, obviously, or biggest difference? We're talking about fee golf or club members golf on a golf course, and then completely different case is tournament golf. When club members playing tournaments, improving their handicaps and whatever, and obviously the next level is professional golf. So obviously you can do a lot of things, and a lot of improvements, how to avoid any problems with spreading the virus around the golf course for normal fee club play, let's say, and then different things obviously will be on the golf course, visible on the golf course during any tournament days, amateur tournament days, club tournament days, or professional days. As Simon says, there will be a good test probably coming 17th of May in the United States of America. Okay, stakes.
I think the one thing to just to interject, MJ, 1 second. I think we're gonna, everybody, PGA professionals around the world are gonna learn as we go with this. As long as we've got a baseline standard of what we're really trying to do, then we can help these guys as much as we can. But the pros are doing such a great job to get these guys back on the golf course. They've got to be commended for doing that as well.
Yep, absolutely, yes. Yep.
Okay, so any key points from this, MJ, stakes wise?
It's simple thing. You can actually, like, again, I did see 3 names. Sorry if I'm missing somebody who is more important, but Mike Neville, Sue Bamford working for LAT, Robert Moss, Akamosi, who was working with PGAs of Europe now, with CPG for many, many years. For example, we know, and Simon obviously, and Andy and Christian as well, you can use, instead of putting stakes around the golf course, because stakes are movable obstructions mainly, you can obviously use local rule. It says all stakes are movable obstructions, which is a little bit harsh thing. So you can, instead of using stakes, you can always use the painted line, okay? So it is about some extra expenses, but to prevent people taking out and touching the stakes, you can always use the lines. So I think this is all at this point. Simon, you happy with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's always that option. I think if all the stakes are removable, as that local says, then folks are getting free relief from it anyway. It's 6 and 2 3s. Either paint it or leave the stakes and make them immovable. I think that's down to the individual clubs and the individual pros, mate.
Yep.
Okay, rakes. Obviously, probably a relatively self-explanatory one, but ultimately still very important, MJ.
Think one example I can say, I played yesterday I played my home course, and all rakes are in places, okay? All rakes are there. There is obviously a special note on notice board which says, like, don't touch rakes, and if you will touch rakes, you need to use like claw or whatever, don't touch bare hand and so on. So everybody knows what's going on again. Obviously, we can place some special things around, like you can put, for example, gloves next to the rakes, each bunker on the golf course, which is probably very unpractical. But anyway, yeah, touching the rakes might be a problem. It's better to remove all rakes from the golf course, ask people to improve the area from where they hit the ball from the sand, their feet or club, or whatever, just make it a little bit more smooth. Honestly, bunker is special place where the play shouldn't be quite easy, whatever. So I can imagine a load of footprints everywhere, but it's definitely my point of view. So yes, to prevent people. Sorry, say it again.
Most PGA pros will know, mate, that it's hard enough getting members to rake bunkers when COVID-19 is not on. So with the best one in the world, You know,
yeah, we can obviously
do it now anyway. So
we can obviously need to stay with
probably going to be a huge problem.
with good habits and keep people going through the golf courses they did in the past as well.
Yeah,
so,
the one thing I liked about this, and it was an R&A recommendation somewhere down the bottom of the COVID-19 document, was for non-competitive golf was you could have a 1 club length preferred line, a bunker. If the bunker was really badly damaged, obviously it was 1 club length from the original spot, no near the hole, but still inside the bunker.
Yep.
And it was free relief. That was on the bottom of the R&A document. For non-competitive golf, I think that's quite a good idea if the bunker is badly damaged. But you know, if we use rakes, I've seen some implements you can put in your golf bag, and like I said, people are not going to carry that around because they don't use the rakes that we put out from any. So, but yeah, let's move on swiftly.
Okay, so that's the fourth then. The scorecard ultimately, which is another key hazard. Any thoughts on this, guys?
Yeah, a simple thing like another piece of paper you're touching. Obviously, normal way you will give your scorecard to your marker. Your marker will handle it. Will give you back after the round the scorecard, whatever. So definitely probably nothing to do with non-competitive golf, because I think it's definitely not about scorecards. Mainly, scorecard is probably not the main issue when you're not playing in the tournament. During the tournament, there is like, I'm sure you can mark and sign your scorecard by yourself. There is a few things, again, to make it short, out on the scorecards. You actually can send your results via email, for example, which is actually very rare solution. You can leave the scorecard just somewhere where nobody will touch it. Like it might be just put on the front desk in reception. People just enter the numbers, put the numbers into the computer. We will take it with you. We will drop it somewhere into the bin. There is a few things around all these things, solution thing. I'm pretty much sure there is more solution than only these. And it's again, mainly about tournament golf, not about non-competitive golf.
Yep. Okay. I've had a couple of private messages, and they're actually good points as well. I'll throw this out to all four of you. With every event or competition, probably the biggest headache for a referee is pace of play. Now, we've thrown some local rules in here that may compromise that in some way. Have you got any thoughts on the impacts that these rules might have on pace of play and how we can combat that, etc.?
I think pace of play is still a huge problem in golf, and I think it comes down from the top. There is I don't think these local rules really are going to be in there. Certainly a lot of these are not going to be in there for competitive play. My thoughts on these are these are more non-competitive. I think, as I said before, we'll learn as we go. I don't know what the rest of the team thinks, but you know, pace of play needs to change. You know, pace of play. You know, we find it on tours all over the world that golf just takes too long. And there is a local rule, not that we've put in for COVID-19, but we actually used it on MENA Tour last year for putting a maximum amount of time on a round of golf. And if players were over that time and over their start and interval, then there was a chance that they could be penalised. And I think that's the only way we're going to solve the pace of play problem, is to start by penalising their shots. I don't think these locals have got anything to do with anything.
And I think in that instance, ultimately as well, when you need to get people around as quickly as possible, if and when golf reopens in different countries. So ultimately, by probably having a penalty in there or something might be an idea to get people on the course, out and back away as quickly as possible, because it's not about shooting 6 under par. It's about obviously getting exercise, playing golf and enjoying it, but ultimately in a safe and timely manner.
Which is the number.
My point, sorry, Simon, my point of view, if you will stick to the club play, fee players, guests, then there shouldn't be any big, massive issue with pace of play. Yeah, shouldn't be any big or massive issue with pace of play. And if we're talking about tournaments, especially about professional tournaments, if there will be anything which will make it tougher or harder to proceed through because of the coronavirus or COVID special local things, then I'm pretty much sure that every single committee can add some extra minutes to the time allowed and whatever, and everybody can actually set the proper pace of play, including special procedures. And that's for now probably deep future. We will see, for example, as I said, 17th of May, there will be something in the United States, and we will see how much influence the situation with COVID will have actually on professional golf. For sure.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's a big learning curve, mate, and I think it's a big learning curve for us as rules officials and you know, PGA professionals all around the world, and we're just going to have to, you know, pretty much learn as we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Just conscious of time, so we'll just have to probably speed things a little bit up. We've been nattering on a little bit, so we'll pass over to Ducky and Christiane, PGA of Germany members. They're going to focus a little bit on Germany itself as a case study, and some of the things they've been doing at their own golf club in relation to dealing with the COVID-19 lockdown, which, as of yesterday, has been eased. Ducky, Christiane.
Yes, a very good afternoon from our side, from a glorious golfing day in Germany. The screen you're looking at right now is a map of Germany, which we put together. We've been playing golf in Germany since the 20th of April. The first courses were opened up on the 20th of April. It's been very, very difficult to keep sort of heads up on this. It's been changing rapidly, hour by hour. We got a green flag yesterday, about 6 o'clock yesterday evening, that we could open up this morning, obviously with the restrictions which the government have put upon us. But we were pretty good prepared for this. We had it more or less in the draw just to pull out. But still, at 6 o'clock yesterday evening for a 9 o'clock open this morning, I mean, the team just pulled together here to get it right. So just basically, Tom, just diving in. On the map, you can see there's basically 3 what I will call states that are not playing golf at the moment in Germany. Germany consists of 16 states. So I've put our logo on there where we are, and it's you still hear me there, Tom?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yep.
Sorry, I was.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yep.
I put our logo on there so you can see where we're positioned, and you can see the dates next to each and every state that I've opened up. We heard, like I say, yesterday evening, for instance, Bavaria, one of the biggest states, they're opening up next Monday. But just to give you a feeling for what's happened here, and yes, we have a government, and they're in Berlin. But each and every state are individual states, and even within the states, there has been huge differences of what you can do. And we're going to go through a few of these points right now. So if you want to crack on, Tom.
Yeah, I've just a quick one, just because Christiane, it was a little bit of an echo, so I've just muted you, Christiane. But if you got anything specifically to say on that, Eva? No,
all good. Yeah, just carry on. All good.
Cool.
Yeah, so from, I think it was the 20th of April, we got the green flag to open up our shop, which was obviously a positive move in the right direction. And obviously connected to the shop, the first question that came up there was, okay, if we're allowed to open the shop, can we do fittings? That's obviously a big part of our shop here. So reaching out to our local authorities, which we did, they helped us a great deal, and I can only recommend this to all the German pros who are watching this. Reach out to your local authority. They are the people who can help you and will help you, and you need to have those on your side, very transparent in what you're trying to achieve. And our local authority have been extremely helpful so far, and we got fittings allowed, so that was also another source of income, which was very helpful for us. we've been doing club repairs. We sent out club repair deals to our members, which I'm sure a lot of you have been doing as well, and also online coaching. And the next step to this, we got allowed to do home visits. Again, this is very individual, area to area or state to state. So we got the green flag to do some home visits, which was also very helpful to keep us sort of ticking over. We were allowed to build up nets in people's gardens, and we've got a launch monitor which we could take along and play with that a little bit. So that was also a good thing. And we have no clarity at the moment on group teaching for our area, for our state, whether that's junior training or courses or whatever. It is very clear to us that we can teach from this morning, which we have done, one-to-one lessons, obviously with the restrictions that are in place, and also playing on the golf course with a member as a 2-ball, which fits in very nicely to our setup that we've got in place anyway.
Yeah, and I'd just say, just on a final note on that, in what you mentioned about engaging with your local authorities, again, it's a key point of our Stay Safe, Stay Learning policy earlier on that I mentioned, and it's applicable to other countries as well. It's what we've a key point of what we've encouraged with our PGAs. Okay, so we'll move on. So you basically, Duck and Christiane, you've created a little bit like the RNA journey, of a customer journey in relation to some of the practical things you've done at your own golf club. So again, do you want to just quickly go through some of these ones?
Yeah.
Hold on, I'll just unmute you, Christiane. There you go.
Okay, perfect. So before we show you some specifically examples of what we did in House By, we just like to give you some general information. So we just start off where members arrive in the parking area, or let's say in the club storage, where they go and pick up their clubs. So obviously with having tea times, we basically create not being too many people at the same time in the parking area or in the club storage room. So we ask people to not arrive any earlier than 15 minutes before their start time on the parking area, so they've got enough time to get their clubs out of the storage and make their way to the first tee. And then the next point will be the pro shop. So if you just move on.
Yep.
So in our area, you have to wear a mask if you just entering like a shop. So the pro shop is obviously as well a shop, so you have to wear a mask if you enter. We ask just one person at a time to be in the shop because our shop is quite small. Obviously, contactless payment is a good idea, so you don't have to handle too much around with money. And yeah, if possible, it's a good idea to divide staff into shifts so you can have longer opening hours in the shop. Especially for the first time, we saw it here this morning. We've been here since 6:45 in the morning, and we will be here until probably 8:30 in the evening, just to make sure that all the tea time areas are covered.
Okay. And then you move on to practice facilities, so on the driving range.
That's correct. So there might be people who just come for the range, or they just maybe want to hit some balls before they go to the round. What we did tea times for the mats as well. Likewise, you book your tea time for the course, you also book your tea time for the range for a mat. And that's how we make sure that the maximum number of 12 people in our case are on the driving range. And that's basically the same if you move on to chipping and putting green.
Yep. So
we've got
go on.
Yeah, we've got a maximum number of people there as well, and we ask people to only use their own golf balls there, so they don't touch the range balls in that areas.
Okay, and then you've done your warm up. The main business is the golf course, so there's obviously a few more information things that you've been doing.
Yeah, so obviously there you can see all the basic things which need to be watched regarding the golf course. Obviously, our tea times were sold out yesterday evening within, I think it was not even 1 hour. And people could start this morning from 9 o'clock. The last game out today is 19:30. All tea times are booked out. It's the same for tomorrow.
And I think, just on that quickly, I think that's a really good example to show that whilst everything in some countries is not quite going yet, when that play button does get hit, people are eager to get back out onto that course. So these procedures are so important, aren't they?
Yeah, absolute, yeah. And then you've got all the other things which you can watch out maybe a bit later. That's just what we can see in the video as well. So I would say we just continue with our video.
Yeah. So they've kindly put a brief video together. So we'll click play, and Andy, I suppose you want to commentate on this one. I'll just get your mic.
So this is what you're seeing now is an example of our club storage room, which we've basically divided up into an entrance and an exit, obviously restricting the amount of people that can actually go into this building at any one time. And we've also removed the tops of bins, so there's no contact at all with the bins, but still looking for hygiene and cleanliness around the complex. This has been separated now by cones, and the doors remain open throughout the day. We lock the doors on an evening when the last game is teed off. Yeah, that's the exit sign that you see in there. We're very fortunate actually in our golf club. We do have numerous ways which we can divide traffic up quite nicely to stop any crowds or too many people coming together in one area. And we've devised a color-coded system of depending on which area you would like to be at. So, for instance, the Pro Shop is a pink walking system. The 6-hole course is a yellow system. And you can see by that, depending on where you want to be as a golfer, you just follow that walkway and that will take you right there. To be honest, I mean, we opened up, like I say, this morning, and I've just picked up with a starter before we started this webinar. Just checked in with a starter, just checked in with a shop, and just got a general feeling of what's been going on. And it's been very, very smooth. So what you're seeing here is another sign. It's all color coded now. When we did this for the video, we had to take all the signs back down again, not to give the impression that we were open. So this would be a walkway dividing up traffic easily to take them to the range. Yeah, because our shop is, like Christiane was saying, is very small. We've put some markings on the ground, 2 meters apart, to sort of form a queue, an orderly queue, so one person at a time can go in the shop. We've got disinfection area there just outside the shop, with the relevant notices, also making people aware of what they need to watch out for. So you can see here Christiane is entering the shop. That means just one person at a time. In the shop we have, this is not normally what our shop looks like actually. We've rearranged it a little bit to make it easier for the staff actually working there. And the young lady who you're seeing there behind the counter, she's behind this, what we call it a spit shield, to protect her. And we are also very much encouraging contactless payment as much as we can to make the process obviously quick and easy. Just certain points to watch out for when you've got traffic in the shop. We've got one entrance and we've got one exit, a separate exit. We've set up a waiting zone for tee number 1, so we are starting in 10-minute intervals with 2 balls, and we're asking the second game to pitch up basically 5 minutes before the tee time. So the game ahead have just teed off, and they are waiting in this zone area to keep distance. And to be honest, like I say, it's been very, very smooth today. We'll see how it develops the coming days. So Christiane's making her way to the driving range again at the ball machine here. We've set up a walkway on the ground with arrows and stickers to keep people apart, to form an orderly queue. We actually have 12 mats on our driving range, so you can actually book a tee time to reserve a zone on the driving range for one of these 12 mats. You can book it for half an hour, you can book it for an hour, you can book it up to a maximum of 2 hours. Again, on the ground there, a separate exit to walk around the queue. On the ground, we've sprayed, as you can see there, we sprayed zones down on the ground for each mat, giving the zones numbers. So when you book online to book a range zone, you're actually booking one of those numbers. which you get confirmation as well per email on your mobile phone. It's worked very, very well today. It's been very, very smooth. If I can just say something about the buckets as well there. I know Christiane's handling the bucket there. We've got 12 buckets next to the ball machine, and we've actually got a bucket area, which is where the buckets are returned to, and they get disinfected after use. So there's always somebody hanging around the range disinfecting the handles of the buckets and putting them back again into the reusable position. You can see on the ground there, we've got some blue and white arrows, again, using a separate exit from the range, giving the range a safe place, a safe zone for people to train in. So a lot of markings on the ground. We've tried to avoid actually making it look like a crime scene, to be honest, but this is what the authorities have asked us to do, and this is hopefully going to keep us open. If I may pass over to Christiane now.
Yep, just a second. Okay, so you're on the chipping green now, Christiane.
Yeah, correct. So that's our chipping area. What we had anyway, or what we just did over the winter, is a new color-coded system. So that obviously helps us now, because we're basically showing people where to play, to which flag. So that's obviously good. You can see here the white and the orange one. So that's where you have to play to the white or to the orange flag. And we've got a maximum number of 3 people in the chipping area. So we make sure that nobody gets too close to each other. So we don't have any holes or cups in the ground here. We just put the flag sticks into the green, so nobody needs to touch the hole or anything. The ball can actually fall into a hole. Mm. And then here the putting green, that's where we've put holes and cups. We've put this training aid into the hole cup, so the ball, as you can see here, can't actually fall into the hole. It just stays on the upper surface, and the person putting can just get the ball quite easy without touching anything.
And then finally, this is the teaching academy area, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. That's the separate way how you would walk if you booked a lesson. So what we do, we send the people having booked a lesson per email that they follow the signs for golf lessons, so they take a separate way as well. And that's our separate area, which we use. We are 3 professionals in house by, so we've got enough mats to work with so that everybody can basically teach at the same time. In case somebody would touch something, which we obviously try and avoid, then we've got enough disinfection there, so we can disinfect all the areas which were touched.
So ultimately, that was a quick whistle-stop tour of your own golf club, but some really good practical examples, Andy and Christiane, on what you've done ultimately. And this hasn't just happened overnight. This has been a lot of preparation, and a lot of time spraying grass and all that sort of stuff, and getting everything ready, isn't it? It's not just an overnight job.
No, we've been preparing this for quite some time. We were actually hoping for a 20th of April green flag. That unfortunately didn't happen, but we've had it in the draw. We've been very much ahead of the game, talking about safe zones to teaching and protect the customer, protect our pupils. Also, we've got to think about protecting ourselves. And Christiane has done a great job at organising us. And I'm just going to give you a fashion show here. Christiane has organised these hats with face shields. I find it very difficult to teach in a mask. I don't get enough air when I'm speaking, so this is a great idea. This came from the PGA of Germany. They've offered our members a very good deal on these. They also come for a lady. They come in a visor form, which is also very handy. So again, protecting ourselves as pros is also a key factor. We've basically lost 8 weeks of income for our business on the driving range and teaching. So we want to keep fit, keep distance, but we want to keep working as well. So if anybody needs any help with that, just give us a bell, and we can certainly help out with contact details for things like that.
Yeah, and ultimately, we've gone over, but I think it's important information what we've covered here, and it's good to see a good case study with some practical examples that applies. We're hearing a lot of stuff in the news, but ultimately for golf, it's applying those rules to the industry. Just to briefly summarise. At some point, if it hasn't already, golf is going to return, and the PGA professionals we play are in ensuring that golf club well, wherever we work, whatever facility it is prepared and ready, as Christiane and Andy have just shown. So for anybody who's listening, you know, and who is a PGA member or a manager, etc., I'd just bear that in mind, ultimately, and also using for example, the R&A guidelines and what Andy and Christiane have just said. Consider the customer journey. So from start to finish, what you need to do as an appropriate risk assessment to prepare your course and facility for play. These can include the pro shop, the course, practice facilities, driving range, etc. And that point at the bottom, I think, is important because here in the UK, but I suppose everywhere as well, is that these social distancing guidelines, whilst are in a process of perhaps being eased or have already been being eased, there's no saying that they could revert. And so we have a responsibility as an industry to make sure that we adhere to them and prepare our businesses appropriately. Otherwise, we risk losing those freedoms that are coming. So just an important consideration there. As I say, we've gone a little bit over, so we've got time, literally 2 questions. If anybody has any, just post them in the chat real quick. If not, we've also recorded this as well, so any information that you do need from this, it's there and available for you to go back on and look at. But ultimately, just bear some of these key messages in mind. And guys, I don't know if you have anything to finalise on before we finish the webinar.
No, just from our point of view in the UK, we're all waiting to see what goes on Sunday night. I think Andy and Christiane have done an amazing job in Germany to get their facility open. I think every golf club in the UK could take that as a case study to follow, for sure, to keep ourselves and our customers safe. And let's hope we all get back out on the golf course sooner rather than later.
Can I add something? There is the question from David Bossa. Great job, Christiane and Andy. Only one question: how do you arrange to get the range balls? Pay online with the bay? So this is the question in the chat for you guys.
Go on.
Yeah, what we have is like a pinpoint system. So you can basically charge your pinpoint in the pro shop, which is quite easily done. Just a person coming in has to put this pinpoint on like a base, and then you can say how much you want to put on it, like 10, 20, whatever, and you just pay, and then you hold it in front of the ball machine without touching anything, and that's how they get the balls.
Yeah. Andy McNabola mentioned about buggies as well. That's a good point, just to consider. He's noticed at valet car places that they use sandwich wraps or cling film, I suppose, maybe for the steering wheels. It's not a bad idea for golf buggies as well, maybe. I suppose disinfection is a good remedy for that as well. So once buggies have been taken in and out, make sure you disinfect all the key areas: steering wheels, pedals, seats, etc. So yeah. Okay, I think that. Oh, one more from David Bosa. Before lesson, do you send guidelines to the customer?
Before lesson, do we send guidelines to the customer? Yeah, we've sent out an email before. We actually got started playing this morning. We've sent out an email newsletter to all our members, so they are very aware of the color-coded walking systems they can use to get where they have to be to. And obviously for a lesson, they wear a mask. We wear a mask or a guard or a head guard. They are aware of the situation. We've got our safe zones to teach in. So again, we've been teaching today on site for the first time in over 8 weeks. So it's been very good. Weather plays a big role, as we know, but it's been very smooth, and everybody's so far so good. Very happy.
Excellent. Right, we'll have to wrap things up. Sorry about that, guys. We've just gone over quite a bit, but ultimately, I hope you
don't want to have the last word. Don't want to have the last word. I need to say something. Thank you very much, CPG, because you're doing a great job, Tom, Aston, and everybody from CPG, to keeping us alive and giving us some more knowledge about how the situation is around with the masterclass series. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MJ. Do you want to say goodbye, everybody else, as well?
Yeah, thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for watching and for setting it up.
Excellent. CPG guys, if you want to stay on, but everybody else, thank you for coming. We hope you did appreciate the webinar and found it useful in some way. Just as an FYI, with webinars coming up, we've got one tomorrow with David Kearney, the Golfing Buddha, and then there's one for every day next week, I think. So just go onto the CPG Masterclass Series hub page after and be sure to register for them, covering various topics, and will be very useful. So once again, thank you all for attending. Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for bearing with us. And ultimately, stay safe to everybody as well.